Ah, 'tis morning, and all the trains in the railroad yard are fast asleep. Or except Casey's. His engine is slow asleep. Hey. Good morning, Casey.
Come on, you rounders, if you want to hear the story all about a brave engineer. Casey Jones was the rounder's name. On a high right-wheeler, he won his fame. Casey Jones, Casey Jones, Casey Jones.
Are you ready?
Ready to start for the Western land.
Yes, what's that coming down the line? Or should I say down Olive Street? In my very own backyard, almost, is a railroad that owns and maintains a 101-year-old Baldwin 262 Prairie-style steam locomotive. It's the Santa Maria Valley number 205, stretching her legs on a special midweek assignment. The locomotive backs gingerly down the street, puffing past homes and traffic to reach the Albany and Eastern's main line from the shop lead in the town of Lebanon, Oregon. The goals are twofold on this pleasant spring day: to move freight cars to storage and to allow experience to new engineers. After all, it isn't every railroad that requires operating a steam-powered locomotive. The engine typically rests during the week and pulls passenger excursions on the weekends. The conductor will line the switch and then restore it to normal once the 205 is shoved onto the main line. Today, SMV number 205 sparkles and has a spring in her step, but the road to get there involved a lot of elbow grease and dedication. Delivered from California in the 80s, she languished for decades before getting the second chance at life we see today. And now, thousands have the opportunity to experience a piece of living, breathing history. A little pig has become 205's mascot, and the engine adopted the nickname of Porky, who can often be found riding in various places. Three toots of the horn or whistle is the universal railroad signal for backing up. And from Lebanon, the engine will back up all the way to Albany to collect its train. And from there, it'll take the cars all the way west to Griggs on the Mill City branch. At Fry, a number 205 is ducking into a spur track out of the way for the daily except weekend hauler train from Albany. The eastbound hauler resumes its trip once the main line is made clear. A gentleman at the crossing was recalling a time he rode along with that particular engineer. I was curious to ask him more questions about it, but he was hightailing it towards the steam locomotive when I turned around. It seemed he either knew the crew or wanted a closer look at the steamer. In any case, he would wind up scoring a ride in the cab, and I would get an answer why later that day when I spoke with the conductor.
That was nice of you guys to give that gentleman a ride.
Oh yeah, so that guy's name's Alan Jackson, and he, you know, our boss Bruce, he was one of Bruce's teachers back in the day in high school.
Really?
And got Bruce into mechanical stuff and everything like that.
Wow.
So Bruce has always been like, if you ever see Alan Jackson, stop him and pick him up. So I saw him there and I was like, wait a second guys, I'm pretty sure we're supposed to pick him up for Bruce.
He
He's
looked like he was expecting something. Like,
yeah,
is
the
this a
crazy
bus
thing,
stop?
the dude's like 86, 87 or something, and he climbed right up there. I was like,
Practically
oh,
ran over.
yeah, I couldn't believe it.
The character of the Albany and Eastern Railroad shines through from the top to the bottom as the railroad will go out of its way to honor the community, veterans, and rail fans alike. It's better for learning engineers to get their experience on assignments like this, rather than when passenger cars full of people are behind the engine. At the industrial park at Page, there's a siding with the cars the engine will pick up and get their train assembled in the way they need to, so that later on the set out will be in the right order. Mid-trip, grease and oil on moving parts is checked by the hogger in the old-school way. Back at Fry, it's a whistle stop for Alan Jackson to be on his way. My favorite place on the Mill City branch comes crossing the South Santiam River here. The fine track of the Mill City branch is evident at Greg's, the longest siding on the line, currently storing cars until industry requirements call them back into service.
Yeah, it takes a little bit. Yeah. Luckily, we don't have to fill it up too often. Water every day. Got a nice echo up here. Yeah, really got it. We ran a little bit on Friday, just like, yeah, training rhythm to get the chance.
Once the long line of modern freight cars is assembled, it will push the steamer to the limits of its abilities to move, and occasional wheel slippage can be heard. A sight like this is extremely rare in railroading today. To see a small steam engine pressed into modern freight assignments in 2025 is something that just isn't seen. The work is done, and so it's time to go. I hope you get a chance to come out to Lebanon and ride the Santiam excursion trains yourself, so that scenes like this can continue for years to come.